Here's a movie about a girl who goes to Mexico to find her father, but against the wishes of her grandmother and Rambo.
Welcome to SinCast, presented by Cinemasins.
All right, everybody, welcome to the SinCast. This is Chris Atkinson from Cinemasins, joined by Jonathan Watkins.
Hey, what's up?
And we're going to be doing a mini-pod of Rambo Last Blood. Yeah. So Rambo Last Blood is the fifth and supposedly final Rambo.
Yeah, I would think it would have to be, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it would seem like it would be the last one, but who knows?
I mean, how old is Stallone at this point?
He's in his 70s, I believe. Like early 70s, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe late 60s. I can't remember. Yeah.
He's 73.
73. So, yeah, the thing is the last Rambo that came out had that sort of feel to it. Like, this is the last one. Because remember, he did Rocky Balboa and he did Rambo, and it was sort of these return to and supposedly my last chapter.
Yeah, that was like his comebacks. Like he was trying forever to get the new Rocky movie made, and because like early 2000s, I mean, Stallone wasn't doing anything that we were talking about.
No.
Like, he was still making movies, but we just weren't discussing them. And then he was able to get Rocky off the ground, and it did really well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and it's a good movie.
Yeah, it is. And then he did another Rambo, and I can't actually remember how well that did, but those movies aren't like expensive to make or anything like that.
No. And then apparently after he did the 2009 Rambo, they did initially start. I mean, I'm sorry, was it 2009? I think it was. Maybe it was 2008.
Yeah, it had to have been 2008, yeah.
So he does the 2008 Rambo. They immediately start trying to make another one. And at one point, like I was even reading, at one point they were kind of taking the Die Hard approach where they just bought a novel. And they were just going to insert Rambo into it. But it was this book called Hunter, and it was about a genetically enhanced like monster, basically. Okay. So like Rambo and like this like Navy SEALs team or some kind of team was going to go hunt down like a predator, basically.
Okay.
That might have been the better movie.
Might have been.
I'm not going to lie.
Might
have been the better movie.
Might have been, anytime I hear something insane, I want to hear it. I want to watch that movie. We canned it. It was too weird. And I'm like, oh, that would have been awesome.
Well, supposedly he's still actually trying to make, not that movie, but he's trying to make a movie based on that book. So we might still get to at least see
we'll have one of those,
that movie minus Rambo.
We'll have one of those Beverly Hills Cop situations where he ends up doing, was it Cobra or whatever? What was the movie?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
No, he did Cobra, which is, God, oh my God, Cobra is a fascinating story. That's based on the book Fair Game, which was also made into a movie.
With the Cindy Crawford?
Yeah, with Cindy Crawford.
And with the William Baldwin.
Yeah, and, oh my God. And Stallone tried to get his name actually put on the novel because he changed it so much for Cobra, he thought he should get his name put on the novel.
Of course he would. Of course he would.
But anyway, so they were trying to make, and then I think there was a deal that was a little more similar to what we got now, but then all that died down, and then 11 years later, we have this.
So yeah, he did this. He basically did the same thing. He did Creed. I mean, I don't know if Creed was his idea to start that up or whatever, but it was after Rocky Balboa. He comes back, some many years later again, and again plays Rocky, even though Creed is the main character in those movies. But just getting back to that original thing, every time we think it might be the end, another 10 years goes by, and it's like, hey, we have another story we can do.
Yeah. Now I will say, we said I can't imagine him playing Rambo again, which is true, but Creed's a good point, because that's not to say there couldn't be like a Rambo Jr. or like a prequel. I mean, there's a very good chance that this name brand is enough to where we'll get something else eventually, but I can't imagine he's going to do it again.
So, this Rambo Last Blood, puts him in a situation. I don't know if I think he's trying to get back to that First Blood type of thing where there's more of a story, like it's not just him coming in and just blowing away a whole bunch of people immediately.
Immediately, yeah. No, I guess it's a more compact story. I mean, I guess the last Rambo kind of was too.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely more compact, smaller than like the first couple of sequels, like Rambo First Blood Part 2 and Rambo 3.
Those were those 80s, blown up by Andy Vanya and Mario Kassar, like 80s excess action movies.
And that's Stallone at his peak. Like that is just Stallone, because I mean, 85 you get Rambo First Blood Part 2 and Rocky 4, which are two of the just most insane movies to come from the 80s.
Oh yeah.
Like overly patriotic to the point of I don't even know how to describe them.
Right,
they're crazy. But this is definitely toned back, dialed back a many.
Yeah. It doesn't even seem like a Rambo movie, really, like from what we've seen in the past.
No, I remember I was thinking in my head, if we ever send this, I'm pretty sure this movie takes an hour to Rambo would be
that's absolutely correct. This movie is Rambo : Taken.
Yeah.
You'd think. I mean it's basically what it is.
Well, and it's also kind of speaking of Rocky 4, which I mean maybe this will get more into spoilers, but it kind of has like it has a bit of a Rocky 4 track arc to it where there's like there's an initial situation, it doesn't go great,
right,
and then there's like the rematch,
right, yeah, it does go. I think that's an apt analogy. I think so. So yeah, it takes a long time to Rambo, and the question is, for your enjoyment of this movie, can you take that whole hour of story build to the climax, which is what you see in the trailer?
Yes.
So is it so? What did you think of this movie?
I will say before I give that part, I like 3 of the 4 Rambo movies leading into this.
Mm-hmm.
And
which one do you not like?
Well, I mean Rambo 3 is not very good.
Rambo 3 is pretty.
But
terrible.
at the same time, Rambo 3 is kind of watchable. Like I've seen it a few times. Like I'm not, it's totally watchable, but it's not very good. I would also say First Blood, and I had to rewatch. I didn't have to. I rewatched First Blood recently, and I'm always I always forget how good that movie is.
Yeah.
Like, that is a stone cold fucking classic for me.
Yeah.
And I think they're definitely, like you said, I think it's trying to get back to that. But I think one thing it's definitely missing is you don't have like the Brian Dennehy character, and you don't have the even the Richard Crenna character. So I liked 3 of the 4. I did not like this one.
Yeah, I'm with you on this.
I did not. Not at all.
I didn't like it at all either. And we'll get into a lot of spoiler stuff here in a minute, but I think the problem for me is exactly what you're saying. Yes, there's no Dennehy-like villain in this. The villains that we do have are very, very broad sketches.
Oh, they might as well have black hats and mustaches.
Yeah.
It's insane.
And then a lot of the actions he takes before we get to all the Rambo stuff makes 0 sense to me.
Yeah.
It doesn't, I didn't understand why he did what he did. Like, I understand, being motivated by anger and you want to you want to solve this thing by tonight. But man, I just did not understand what he was doing.
Yeah. Well, and I guess we could talk about non-spoiler. The main storyline here is that he has apparently and I didn't really get a lot of this from the movie. Another problem with this movie, I had to read about this, but he's inherited a ranch from his late father. I
didn't catch that.
I didn't either. And so he's been on this ranch for like 11 years, 10 years, whatever it is. And he's the older lady is helping him run the ranch. And her granddaughter is staying with them because her parents, I guess her mom, I think her mom must have passed away, and then her dad just left her.
Yes.
Okay. So, and so he's basically raised this girl for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And her name is Gabrielle. She's played by this actress I've never seen before, Yvette.
Yeah, Montreal.
Monreal. It's Monreal.
Oh, so, Montreal. Yeah.
Gabrielle, I guess. She's actually not bad.
No.
What little she has to do, she's not bad.
No.
But anyway, so that's what's going on here, and then she discovers where her father is, and they're in Arizona. Her father's in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
She decides to go to Mexico against the wishes of her grandmother and Rambo and Uncle John. And
imagine just writing that paragraph out. Do you have any context of what the movie is? Here's a movie about a girl who goes to Mexico to find her father, but against the wishes of her grandmother and Rambo.
Yeah, that's where they got. They went from.
That sounds like something that you do in like your 10th grade or something. You're like, I want to make this Rambo movie.
But that's what happened. I mean,
yeah, it's exactly what happened.
They went from he's going to be like fighting a werewolf to let's do this.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think how it got to this point. But anyway, she goes to Mexico. She meets her dad. Her dad ends up being a douchebag.
Yeah.
Which John Rambo told her.
Yeah.
And then she, of course, like anybody does when they go to Mexico, they go to a club and they get kidnapped and they get sold into the sex trafficking arena.
Yeah. It was like you planned it all along.
And I did see a lot of stuff written about. There is some I can see why people are pulling some overall like xenophobia from this movie and maybe some casual racism. I don't know if it's casual, but
who knows?
It's an interesting look at Mexico. Let's put it that way. And it's not very subtle.
No.
It's like they don't even show like everywhere she goes is just everywhere they go is so grungy and there's people just walking around with guns. And, and you know,
it's like when the kids in Eurotrip end up in like Russia or something like that, and there's like the dog with the hand in his mouth.
Yeah.
You know,
and it's also similar to like the small town and like Three Amigos. Like like and then we get the villains, which are the very generic. I think aren't they? The Martinez brothers.
Yeah,
Victor and Hugo. They're so generic. And it's not their fault, but it's just
no. The actors are not to blame.
It's like those really like less interesting seasons of 24.
That's
what. Actually, this kind of reminded me. There was a season of 24 where they're in Mexico for a minute, and that's kind of what this reminded me.
What season was that?
I think it was like season 3.
Oh, really? I can't even remember. I saw all of 24, except like all the new stuff they did after the
I didn't see that
series
either.
was over. I didn't watch any of that.
But anyways, it's so generic. It's so bad.
Yeah.
And then I guess after that it kind of gets more into spoilers, but I don't know. Do we want to grade this? Or?
Yeah, let's go ahead and grade it. What would you give this?
I don't really give mini films Fs in general, and I guess we're gonna find this out when we do a bunch of these. But I'm thinking like D+. I mean, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen.
Yeah,
I wasn't ever like bored necessarily. I just wasn't ever really. This is like the perfect example of what I call a non-starter movie. Like this movie just never gets going. Like there's just it's pointless to an extreme, and it just never accomplishes anything.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there's action, so I guess it does do some things, but it just never starts. Like it never feels impactful in any way. So I don't know. I came out of this thinking D+, so I guess I'm sticking with that.
Okay. I wouldn't take this rating to mean that I enjoyed this more than you, but I'm going to say C-. But
I know what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying. It's not like the worst thing.
Yeah, I'm going to say C- only because once a movie gets into D territory for me, that's where it's almost to the point of slog or unenjoyable in any instance at all. Everything's bad. It does get very close. It gets very close to that. Yeah. But I think there's just enough.
Well, in that last like 20 minutes or whatever, I mean, there's a lot of shit in there, but there's also a lot. I don't know if you'd call it enjoy, but there's a lot to keep you entertained or into the movie. I don't know if I'm ever entertained. Let's say that.
Right.
But I'm I'm fascinated by things that happen in that last like 30
Yeah,
minutes.
me too. Yeah.
Like choices that were made.
Is right. Yeah, and that's about the way that we can sum up all the characters in this movie, actually.
Yeah.
Let's go on to spoilers because
Sounds
I
good.
do want to talk about a lot of the things that happened in this.
All the things.
All the things.
No spoilers!
Kevin Spacey is Kaiser Soze.
Luke's father is actually Darth Vader. She's the sister and the daughter. They just
No. I'm reading the books.
So yeah, we've already discussed that she goes down this surrogate daughter of Rambo essentially goes down to Mexico looking for her father
and gets taken.
The number one thing that bothers me is that she goes to Rambo first and asks him, can she?
Yeah.
Actually doesn't ask him. She just says, I'm going to go down to Mexico and see my father. And he's like, I don't think that's a good idea. And then everything is cool. Like he thinks everything is cool, but then he goes and tries to go behind his back and ask grandma about it.
Yeah.
And he comes in while they're talking and he's like, oh, I thought we already talked about this. And then she's like, okay, yeah, I'm definitely not going to. At this point, she should be on a car watch. At this point.
Yeah. Yeah. She's just like, have him go to my friends. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Well, I guess he didn't see that big, huge bag that I put in my car, so it's all cool. But like, and then I guess, I don't know, I guess she was actually going to go to her friends there for a minute, but then she turns around.
Yeah, she does stop and think, and then she turns around.
Like at first I thought she was just going to Mexico, and then that would have been totally fine for the movie, but instead she has a second thought. I'm going to go to Mexico.
And how, I don't know, she's supposed to be like, I guess like 18?
Yeah, because she's going to college.
Oh, that's right. She just graduated high school, so.
Yeah, but the biggest problem for me in this movie, besides the characters, obviously, characters are just very thinly drawn. Once Rambo figures out what happens, everything falls in his lap. Like he goes to Mexico. He finds that Giselle character. And he threatens her, and and then
I did kind of like that scene. That was the scene where I was like, okay, maybe this is going to go into some interesting terrain. Just, I don't know. There was just, and I will say, Stallone's not bad.
No,
and he's never really bad.
Like I said, the actors are not the problem in this movie.
But that, I will say, that scene, I was at least a little intrigued. But then, I know what you were going to say. I mean, but then it just kind of, everything falls into his lap after that.
He asks her where they went, and they go to the bar, and straight up, that dude that drugged the girl's coffee,
he's there,
or the alcohol or whatever.
Yeah.
It just happens to be there.
Yeah.
And then like, Rambo tortures that guy, and they drive out to this place, and the guy is like, go up to that room up there. He has no plan.
Yeah.
No plan whatsoever. This is, as soon as he got out of that truck and started walking up the stairs, and you start seeing all those people like, stranger coming up.
Yeah.
Stranger danger. I was like, what is he planning on doing? What is he hoping to do?
Yeah, and he's supposed to be like really smart. Like he was a tactical guy in the war, right? That's what he was trained to be. He was just a killer, and he knew how to track people and get people. So this doesn't really make sense from a Rambo standpoint.
All he's got is his muscles and a pistol.
Yeah.
That's all he has. He doesn't have, and maybe a knife.
He has a big knife. Yeah.
That's all he has. and he's going to go up there. He thinks he's going to I think the movie may be playing on that whole, like, Rambo's an army of one. So therefore doesn't matter how many people crowd around him and everything. He's going to be able to get out of this. But every other Rambo, he's got all these weapons everywhere. And he's able to shoot from afar, and he's never surrounded.
Well, and then later in this movie, he gets sneaky, and he's actually tracking them, and he's actually figuring out ways to get to them. So this scene makes no sense.
As soon as he found out what room he needed to go to, he needed to find somebody to like give him information and then just work his way.
Exactly.
Instead of just, I'm pissed off. I'm going to go ahead and walk up to the top of this roof.
And he's relying on a guy who he has, I don't know what you call that. He has like gutted him from like nut to knee.
Yeah, something.
And like pulled his bone out.
Yeah.
I don't know how dependable I don't even know how that guy's still like
that
awake.
That was the thing. Like, yeah, exactly. He should have been unconscious. At least, but yeah, he just takes this dude's word for it and goes, and then he gets somewhat, I mean, he's not saved, but he is somewhat saved by Surprise Pass Vega.
Well, she happens to be at the club.
Yeah, she's at the club because she wants to write an article on these women who are taken because she has some sister that was taken.
Yeah.
And her only function in this movie.
There's so much plot.
Her only function in this movie is to get him out of there and get him a doctor. And that's it, essentially.
Yeah.
There's no reason for her.
So if she's not there, he's dead, basically, or something. I don't know.
Oh my God! And then he goes back, and that's when he starts going. All right, well, he's going to start plotting this a little bit better.
Yeah.
And also that he can draw them. He can find her first, and then he can draw them to this ranch later on. So yeah, you're in the middle of the movie. He goes and finds her.
Yeah,
she's been drugged up because here's the main thing that's this movie is just really stupid. There's two brothers running this prostitute ring there's these two brothers running a prostitute ring, and when they beat the hell out of Rambo, one of them's like, let's just kill him, which is the right thing to do.
Exactly.
The second brother's like, no, I'm going to make an example of this guy, and I want him to think about the girl that he came to save. And so I want him to think about that even though there's really no real history here.
No. And I can appreciate, I mean, the dude's like in his 60s. They're probably not thinking he's able to do anything, but then why wouldn't you just kill him?
Yeah.
Like, haven't
you seen The Limey Man? Come on, man. But yeah, they allow him to live, which makes no sense. And then, so what they do is they go back to her. What's her character's name again?
Gabrielle.
Gabrielle. They go back to Gabrielle and like show her John Rambo's license.
Yeah.
And they're like, yo, now we're going to really fuck you up.
Yeah. Who is this to you?
Yeah. And they inject her with, I guess, what is a lethal dose of drugs, essentially.
Yeah, heroin or something. Yeah.
And she's in this sort of this house or whatever, like trying to get recovered from it or whatever. And I guess there were some customers or something. They don't go that far.
Yeah.
They basically show her alone the whole time, but Rambo goes in, basically like beats up every John in the place.
Yeah.
And then and then finds her and then like, and then takes her into the car and into the truck. And then, on the way back, she dies.
Yeah.
Which I don't think's necessary either, by the way.
No, not at all. She could have just been like really sick or whatever, or they could have they had his license. I thought that's what was going to happen.
Yeah, me too.
I thought after he got her, he was going to go home, get his shit ready. So when they came for him, but no, that's not what happened.
Yeah. I thought the license was going to be the thing, and that, there's no reason for him to go through all of that, save her, and then she dies. And him still be motivated to do all of this. It makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
Sure. As a story choice, it's fine by me. I mean, we see it too often, people recovering from things they shouldn't, but I mean, it was just a drug cocktail. It's not really something that, it didn't seem like she went through anything else other than that.
This seems to be something Stallone is falling back on a lot too, because like, in Rocky Balboa, Adrian has died, and I think even in Rambo, you find out Troutman's died, and Rocky IV, Apollo Creed dies, and that just seems to be like a thing that he goes to often.
Yeah,
he dips back into often. So.
Yeah, I think so. Just a lot of the choices that were made here just don't make any sense. It does get to his what would you call it? His death trap of a ranch where he's built all these explosives and
yeah, like he has that giant ranch that apparently he got from his dad. we don't know this. He has these tunnels. We haven't talked about the tunnels.
Yeah, I know.
Which he dug, apparently.
Yeah.
And there's like this random scene early on. It's so funny where the kid's like asking her, like one of her college or high school buddies is like, why do you build these tunnels? And she's like, you just wanted to build some tunnels.
Yeah, he likes digging or something like that.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, he likes digging.
Yeah, he likes digging. And so, yeah, he's built all these tunnels, I guess, just in case he goes to Mexico and the prostitution ring guys come back and whatever. Like, at this point, this is the other thing to me. If you've gone through all this trouble building tunnels and everything, Rambo already has a history at this point. There are a lot of people who probably want to see him dead at this point.
Yeah.
There's no need to go through all this Taken story or
not
anything.
at all.
You should just have Brian Dennehy's grandson show up and just be like, you fucked around with my dad and blah, blah, blah. And he's got a whole war, whole army ready to go for him.
That would have been awesome.
And then Stallone's just like, I'm ready for this. I've been waiting for this all my whole life, and he's got all these tunnels set up.
Yeah.
And he tells the grandmother and the daughter to go, and and then he just starts kicking ass. So yeah, it does get to the point where he's set up basically what is a horror movie death trap.
Yeah, I've seen people have tweeted where he's basically Jason Voorhees in this movie, and he kind of is.
Yeah, he is very much Jason Voorhees in this movie. There's some scenes. I'm wondering. There's probably some deaths in here. They probably had to trim down a little bit because of rating and everything.
Oh, it's super violent. Like this is an R-rated movie.
Yeah, it is. There's some scenes where people's body parts don't do that, or they don't look that way.
I saw one tweet. I think it was Brian Collins. And if you're not following Brian Collins on Twitter, you definitely should. He's a funny dude. But he wrote something like, in Rambo Last Blood, Rambo decapitates a guy with a gun and then shoots him in the chest.
Yeah.
5 stars.
Right. Yeah.
But it's ridiculous stuff like that. Like, it's just insane. And I mean, we'll get to it, but oh my God, the last shot of the movie. Like what he does to that guy.
Yeah, I know. Go ahead. You can go ahead and talk about it.
Well, basically so first off, he, to get them to come to him, he goes back to Mexico. He kills one of the brothers.
Yeah.
It's Victor or Hugo. I don't even remember which one now.
Right.
He kills one of the brothers in an insane fashion where he decapitates them, skins them.
Yeah, and then chains him to a bed.
Yeah, chains him to a bed. So then the other brother finds this. Thankfully, they still have that license, and they're able to go back. I'm not even or maybe he leaves a picture of Gabrielle. That's how they know.
Yeah.
So then they go back. So then it gets to the point where he kills everybody except the brother because he's like, I wanted you to be last.
Yeah,
and then he guts him. Right, he sticks it in his stomach. He guts him. Then he reaches into his chest and pulls out his heart and shows it to him while he dies.
Yep.
That's what happened.
Yeah, he made mention of this, I think, didn't he? Or did he say it just before he did it? There was some mention of pulling out a heart.
There's a metaphor there or something to where, he's showing him his heart.
You pulled out my heart.
Yeah.
That type of thing.
Yeah, and, but it feels like, this very well could have been a fucking scene in a Hot Shots movie. Because that's what it feels like. It feels like something from Hot Shots Part 2.
It does. Like
UHF.
The only thing that would make this not Hot Shots and the only thing that would make it more Hot Shots and UHF is if the heart did something in particular that was make it look more fakey and everything. But this looks like an actual damn heart. But yeah, it's ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. Also, at some point, I always wonder about these guys and these villains in these movies. I know that pride is a matter of motivation a lot of times. But once the guy has killed all of your men and you're the only guy left and you're running through tunnels, maybe it's time to cut your losses.
Yeah, just get out of there.
Yeah.
Because that's right. And they could have done that. He could have been trying to leave, and Rambo still gets up.
Yes,
but he's not trying to leave. He's just
at some point he should have been like, hey, you know what? I'm
he's
done.
Probably got more men in Mexico. He could go back and bring more men.
Almost guaranteed he
yeah.
does. And then even Rambo's thing at the end doesn't make much sense. Like all the stuff he sets up something for the cars, and one car goes over a tripwire. It blows that car up, and then there's like a fire that comes along, and then just kind of like. But all it is, he only got one car with that.
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
So you could have gotten everybody with that. I know that there's a personal thing. You want to pull the guy's heart out, all that. But you definitely, even though you've got all this set up, you definitely want to like kill more people.
I honestly don't even know, especially after the first couple of people go. I don't know why they keep going in the tunnels or why they send everybody in the tunnels. Like, I mean, even stuff like that. I mean, I guess that's argumentative. And I don't
think it is. I think once a few people start just getting like absolutely murdered down there,
you get out,
you wait.
Or like why wouldn't they have had people stationed outside of the tunnels anyways, I guess is what I'm saying. Because what if he comes out another tunnel?
Right. I guess there's one part of it is that they don't know where all the entrances and exits are.
That's true.
But still, be up on the ground. Don't go down in the tunnels.
If I went somewhere like, cause how often does a guy have his own fucking tunnels?
Yeah.
Like Like, speaking of Jason Voorhees, he might be like the only other person I know that does, like from that Friday the 13th remake. Nobody has their own tunnels.
Yeah.
So, like, if they have their own tunnels, like, I would not feel safe. Like, I would not think I'm on, like, ground I can win.
No.
Like,
there's a point, like, I feel like, where your need for revenge is just below your means of survival, where you're like, yeah, I probably shouldn't be here. Probably not a good idea. We can just wait him out up here since, it's
and then I don't know. I didn't stay for the entire credits, but I did while I was walking out, like right after, because it pretty much ends right after the heart thing. And I think he takes off or whatever. Like he's leaving.
Well, he goes and sits down on that rocker.
Oh, that's right.
And he's got like 2 giant shotgun wounds in his body.
But then it goes to the credits, and over the credits, they're playing scenes from First Blood.
I saw that.
I'm like, oh my God, like this movie does not earn that. Like this is not like a proper send-off for this character. And like you're trying to make it seem like now we're going to show all the greatest hits. And I was like, oh, I got to get out of here.
Yeah, this isn't Twilight. Where the people who have watched Twilight from the beginning, it's been this thing from 2007 to 2011 or whatever, and like everybody has watched this together and everything. This is 37 years.
It's almost 40 years later.
Yeah.
I mean, good God, like was it 82? Yeah, 37 years.
Yeah. So.
Oh my God, it's insane. Yeah, it's like Harry Potter or Twilight or something.
Yeah, where they do that. Like I'm surprised like Brian Dennehy didn't get a credit at the end, and like a whole bunch of other people who have been Richard Crenna and everybody.
Well, and apparently David Morrell, who wrote the book First Blood, which the original movie's made based on, he got with Stallone and they came up with an idea a couple years ago for what they wanted to do, and it was a little more personal than even this, and it was smaller. And the studio for some reason really wanted the sex trafficking thing, which is crazy because I don't even like. It's hard to even know that's what's going on.
Yeah.
Like, there's some prostitution or something, but the idea that there's this whole sex trafficking ring, except for that one part where he says, we would have just trained her and then sold her.
Right.
That's the only thing. It's not like they delve into the sex trafficking.
No.
So I don't even know why that was a mandate from the studio, but apparently then Morrell was like, well, I don't want to have any interest in this. So he rolled, and he's been... because his name's still associated with it, and he's been tweeting and saying things like, I don't want to be associated with this bullshit. Like, this is
It's
garbage.
just an ugly direction to go. I understand that these things happen.
Yeah.
But a lot of times you have a choice whether or not to put that in your movie, and that's a situation for me, like it doesn't add anything.
No.
It makes no difference.
No, so why is it there?
Yeah. So like if there was some reason for it being there, and like, Rambo goes in and like decides to end all prostitution ever or whatever, that would make sense. But like this right here, it's almost like this is what I've always had a sneaking suspicion about studios. They know something like Taken is a hit, and they're like, well, in Taken, Maggie Grace was taken to go to prostitution, so we should do the same thing here.
Yeah.
Because that's what everybody loved about Taken, right? You know, and only a studio exec would think that way.
And I have to imagine some stuff. I mean, this movie's like an hour and 29 minutes. I will say that's probably a positive. Like, this movie does not outstay its welcome, really. But apparently, there's a whole scene at the beginning that is being shown overseas that was cut from the United States showings, where he's like trying to save these hikers.
Oh, what?
Yeah, like there's this whole other scene where it almost sounds cliffhanger-esque.
Yeah.
And one of them ends up dying, and like in the movie he randomly has like some flashbacks, and apparently originally one of those flashbacks was going to be the hiker. And apparently, like, overseas, they're actually getting to see this scene, and we're not. And I don't know why. And I don't know that I want to see it, but that makes me feel like there was a lot cut from this.
Why is that scene there?
I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know.
man.
You can look it up. It's been talked about this weekend. So, I mean, if you Google that, you'll find out the whole description. But basically, it sounded very cliffhanger. It sounded very like he's working at like almost like he's a park ranger or some bullshit. Like he's going in and trying to save these hikers. And yeah, it's weird.
So dumb.
Maybe that sets up why he goes to the ranch and stuff, though. That's the only thing I can think of. Because like I said, that's the crazy thing. It's like you were just thrown into the middle of this thing after 10 years where he's taking care of this girl. She wants to go to Mexico. You don't know why any of this is going on. And you're like, well, maybe they'll explain it later. And they never fucking do, because she dies like 20 minutes later.
Yeah.
And then we're supposed to, and you know, you're supposed to follow him, and you're supposed to be motivated by this and understand why he's doing this, and we don't understand because we don't know this person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, your tolerance of this movie probably ends up depending on how well you think that last part of the movie is executed, and if you're willing to wait for it, because you're going to have to wait for it through some some pretty average and below average nonsense.
I will say what made this, talk about this movie being rated R, what made this movie more entertaining for me, though, is I was sitting by this family. It was this guy and this man and woman, and then this boy was sitting between them. He might have been 12.
God.
And he seemed to be enjoying it, though.
I'm sure he was.
But the guy, the father or uncle or whatever he was sitting by me, and like that first scene, like 30 minutes in or whatever, where he like cuts into the drug dealer's knee and is like pulling the bone, I could see from the corner of my eye, I could see the guy look over at the boy, and then he just put his hand up to his face. He was like, oh. like you could tell they were so regretful.
Yes.
But I'm like, holy shit, like it's a Rambo movie and it's rated R. I seriously have this feeling that everybody thinks everything is like a comic book movie now.
Yeah.
Like everything's Captain America type action and violence, and they're not looking at the idea that this is rated R, because I've heard a lot of people talking about this as overly violent, and it is, but I don't really care.
Yeah.
Because I knew this was going to be a violent
Right.
movie. And you could hear the son or whatever, the kid was just like, yes!
All right. Well, we didn't like this too much. It looks like it's going to end up, as of this recording, we don't quite know what the weekend ended up being. Actually, the estimates say 19 million now.
That sounds about right.
So about 19 million. Yeah, I didn't like it too much. It looks like the IMDb, these first responders that are on here have given it a 7.1. I think that'll go down over time.
Oh my God, I didn't look at that.
Most of the time when you see your ratings over the weekend, it's a lot of people who really liked it. And then as people watch the movie longer, it starts to dip.
And I went into this thinking, and I know you guys talked about this on the fall preview. I think you and Barrett both said on the SinCast, you and Barrett both said that you thought it looked kind of fun.
Yeah.
And I went into this with I wasn't like high expectations. I mean, it's a Rambo. It's like the 5th movie in a series, but I thought it would be better than this.
Yeah, I did too. I thought there was going to be more of what we saw at the very end.
And even if you just really want to go see some dumb action, I mean, maybe this is the only thing at the movies, but there's so many movies you could just rent or find hotel. Go watch other Rambo movies.
I was just hoping this movie would have been about a past enemy or something, and that he knew that they were coming or they would come at some point, and he had this all set up. And then he just has all these awesome traps and stuff that Home Alone Rambo.
Yeah. That's a good.
And just essentially like that's the whole movie. We didn't have to have all this other nonsense. And so that's ultimately there's so many bad choices made on this.
Oh, and the way the action shot too, I should mention is okay, but there is like this obvious sped up footage that is used.
Mm-hmm.
Did you notice this too?
I don't know what you're talking about.
It was just like they would like he would go and like shoot a couple people and then turn around and shoot a couple more people, and they sped the footage up quite a bit.
Oh, really?
It felt like one of those old, and maybe I don't know if this could have just been the presentation at the theater. I guess that's possible, but it felt like a lot of the old Sean Connery Bond movies.
Oh
yeah. Like Goldfinger has that opening scene where he takes the scuba mask off, and it's like really quick and throws it.
Yeah,
that's what a lot of this action set piece felt like to me.
Mm-hmm.
So if that says anything, I don't know. It's also wasn't directed by Stallone. It was directed by this guy Adrian Grunberg.
Mm-hmm.
The only other thing he's done is Get the Gringo, which I've never seen. Apparently, I think it's a Mel Gibson.
Yeah, it was
movie.
one of those like let's try to get Mel Gibson back into things.
But he's been an
movie.
assistant director on a bunch of stuff. Like Narcos was one of his more recent things. So I mean, I'm sure he's talented, but this is not done well.
Yeah. All right. Well, that'll do it for this mini pod of Rambo: Last Blood. Go to SinCast presented by Cinemasins on Facebook. We have a Cinemasins Twitter, MVS Twitter. You have a Twitter.
I do, at Sam Loomis 13. I also run the TV Sins Twitter account, so at TV Sins.
Okay, yeah. So there's a lot of places to come and talk about this. It's on SoundCloud. There's if you want to go on Discord, if you want to get a link from that, we can go to Facebook on the private messages. I can give you a link to that. But anyway, that'll do it for this mini pod. It's Chris Atkins and Jonathan Watkins. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. Comment on our episodes on our SoundCloud page. Check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. And be sure to visit cinemasins.com.
Oh, I think you'd appreciate this more than most people because you like shit like this. So I saw 3 from Hell, the new Rob Zombie movie, a couple nights before Rambo. Mm-hmm. They were doing Fathom Events was doing the Devil's Rejects 3 from Hell double feature. Mm-hmm. So I watched that, and there's a huge chunk of 3 from Hell that takes place in Mexico. Mm-hmm. The Bill Moseley and Sherry Moon zombie characters, Otis and Baby, but there's like a huge chunk of it where they go to Mexico, and there's like this Mexican cartel basically that's like decides to come after them because Bill Moseley has killed this guy's dad, and they even have like a machete fight, and which is hilarious because it's like 65-year-old Bill Moseley fighting with this like gigantic just beast of a man with machetes, and Rob Zombie can't direct an action scene. I found out, but then 2 days later, watching Rambo,
yeah,
and I'm just like, I just never would have thought like that correlation would have happened between 3 from Hell and Rambo.
Yeah,
where there's a whole thing with Mexican cartels and no. I didn't like House of 1,000 Corpses at all, and I go into Devil's Rejects, and I think I left thinking, well, that was better, but I still didn't really like it. But rewatching it, I was surprised at how much I remembered, because like going into it, I didn't think I remembered anything, but then once it started going, I was like, oh yeah, okay, oh yeah, this happens, blah blah blah, and it starts off really well, like I don't know how much you remember of it, but the opening sequence is I can't think of that guy's name. What's the guy he's in The Rock. He's like the asshole, he's like one of the asshole cops that's like with Nicolas Cage. William.
Is he the one is it William Atherton?
No, not, is that?
Is he the guy who's like itching to shoot the missiles and everything?
No. I don't think so. Hold on one second. I can just look up.
Because he's like, we're here, man. We're stock, lock, and ready to rock, or something like that.
Oh no,
not that guy.
No, not that guy. No. Oh, William Forsythe.
Oh, Forsyth.
Yeah,
I said Atherton. I was
Yeah.
thinking Forsyth, but
Atherton is that's the guy from Die Hard, right?
yeah,
Oh,
I was thinking of Forsyth, but I said Atherton.
Yeah, I knew it was William too, but I was like,
Yeah.
I was thinking of, I think I had like McNamara or something like that stuck in my head, or whatever that kid is from Chasers, but Chasers reference. Shit.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about because he was in like a few movies in that era.
Yeah, he was like 92 to like 95. He was in like a lot of shit.
It's not like Chase McNamara, is it? Or
hold on a second. It's William. It's William McNamara.
oh, it's William McNamara.
Yeah,
Okay.
I actually had that one right. But yeah, he was in. This is a funny conversation. He was in Copycat. He was the killer in Copycat.
Yeah.
Which was 95, which was like a year after Chasers.
That's more notable for Harry Connick Jr.'s stupid ass.
Oh
performance.
yeah, surviving.
You got any of them squirrel covers?
Surviving the Game. He's F. Murray Abrams' son.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And then that was basically all he did. And then he's done a bunch of crap since. But not that
Yeah,
anybody's
that's
talking
one
about.
of those guys that you used to see all the time and completely forgot he existed.
He was in that movie Ringmaster, which I just completely forgot existed.
Did I see that?
It was the Jerry Springer movie.
Yeah, I saw that. Stupid shit.
But Devil's Rejects, so William Forsythe is the cop that's like, he's after the Firefly clan because they've killed his somebody's brother or something. I don't remember now. It's been 2 days. I already forgot. But so there's that whole scene's pretty cool. It's well shot. It's pretty well done. But then there's this whole middle section where they're at that motel and they're torturing that, like, there's like a country band or something. And what it is Jerry Moon Zombie and Bill Moseley get away. They're waiting for Sid Haig. And they're at this motel, and I mean, it goes on for fucking ever. Like, the movie just absolutely dies for like 40 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sid Haig shows up, and then it gets better again.
Yeah.
So there are moments in it. There's the whole, like, last, like, 5 minutes is, like, this whole, like, slow motion. They're all shot up, and they're trying to drive away, and there's a roadblock, and free birds, like, blaring over.
Yeah. I remember the ending.
Yeah, it kind of leaves you on a bit of a high because it's kind of a cool, like, you know, Bonnie and Clyde ending. But then Three from Hell once also opens up interesting. There's this whole, like, they're all in prison because somehow they survive Devil's Rejects, which is kind of dumb. But
Yeah.
they do. They're all in prison, and then they a couple of Sherry Moon Zombie and Bill Moseley get broken out.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go to Mexico, and then it just kind of dies again. And it's not. But Sherry Moon Zombie's good. This is probably the best I've ever seen her. I will give that much credit.
Huh.
She's just, I don't know how else to say it except she's adorable.
Yeah, she is.
She's just absolutely adorable. Good for Rob.
Mm-hmm.
But and gives a good performance, but it's not worth seeing.
Mm.
Not that I think you're like shocked by that.
No, that'll be something I'll run across one day and somehow watch it.
Yeah, I know you were sitting around going, man, I hope Jonathan tells me about Three from Hell when he
Yeah.
gets here later.
Yeah, I've been dying and itching to see that. I don't know. It's been something that working as a projectionist that I would see, not a lot, but like enough that it was concerning. Like a father or somebody would have two young children with them in some like really hard R movie.
Yeah.
And I would always joke and get on the radio and be like, "Hey guys, let's get the kids in the car and go to, Basic Instinct."